بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد
اللهم صل على محمد
وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Mafatihul Hayat by Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli Hafadahullah, and these are our last few sessions, and inshallah we are going to complete the book soon bi'iznillah. As you remember, in the last several sessions we are talking about environment, and today the first chapter is about greeneries and about the land which is used for feeding animals, or for providing community, society with greenery like parks, like gardens, etc. So Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli says the green land is very important for our physical and also for our mental health. And he says what we understand from Islamic sources is that it's not just good to do something for your own benefit. Even if you are sure that you are not going to personally benefit, still it's good to produce something that other people or even animals and birds can benefit from. Or if you are going, for example, to die, but still you are able to make a garden, plant few more trees, you should do it. You remember we had this hadith before, and here also it's repeated, that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إذا إن قامت الساعة وفي يد أحدكم الفسيلة فإن استطاع أن لا تقوم الساعة حتى يغرسها فليغرسها. If the day of resurrection is starting, it's the time for end of this world and beginning of the day of judgment. But in hand of some of you there is a sapling. Rasulullah says before he or she stands up, should plant that sapling, that baby tree. There is maybe no way of emphasizing more on necessity of planting trees. Even if other people are also going to die, we have to plant a tree. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is quoted as saying that in addition to flowing or current water, looking at green is also making your eyes bright, and is good for your vision, for your sight, for your eyes. We had before about looking at water, but in addition to water is also looking at green. النظر إلى الخضرة, looking at green. In the first place, something which has life and is green, but also maybe in a general way, green as a color is a very good color. So if it's natural, much better. If not, sometimes we can use green. For example, I don't know, a wall can sometimes be green, or door, or for example some books or whatever. This hadith about looking at green is mentioned in Tuhaful Uqul from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salam also says that Rasulullah gifted me with flower. حباني رسول الله بالورد بكلتا يديه. With both hands. In our culture, when we want to give something to someone with full respect, we give with both hands. Even if we can carry it with one hand, we give with both hands. So Rasulullah gave Amirul Mu'mineen bilward, flower like rose flower, or here it's translated as Gul Muhammadi, which is a kind of rose that they use for making rose water. He gave it as a gift with both hands. Then Amirul Mu'minin says, فَلَمَّا أَدْنَيْتُهُ إِلَىٰ أَنْفِي. And when I brought it near my nose to smell, Rasulullah said, إِنَّهُ سَيِّدُ رَيْحَانِ الْجَنَّةِ بَعْدَ الْأَسْ. After another flower, which smells very nice, this is the master of the flowers and greeneries in heaven. Rayhan. Rayhan is something which is smelling very nice. And Rasulullah had a great interest in good, a smell, in good fragrance, in perfumes. And he said this is one of the things that he loves from this dunya. So if you can make in your garden, or I don't know, maybe sometime in flower pots in the room, something that can give good fragrance, that is also nice. And perhaps also psychologically, when we are working with the plants and flowers and gardens which have life, and they show response to our care for them, psychologically it's also very good for you, because you don't feel lonely. You feel that there is a kind of interaction. You give them care, and then you see they give you flowers, they give you good fragrance, they look nice. So in a sense they are thanking you and appreciating you. And some people actually talk to their flowers and to their trees, and they say they see that there is a kind of response, and they have some understanding. For sure, from Malakuti perspective, they have lots of understanding, but even from a worldly sense, if you show respect to them and kindness to them, they appreciate. So Rasulullah said, حُبِّبَ إِلَيَّ مِن دُنْيَاكُمْ. From your dunya, few things are made dear to me. One is at-tib, perfume, good fragrance. In a hadith that Al-Muttaqi Al-Hindi in Kanzul Ummal, as we said before, this is a Sunni collection of hadiths, but very nice and very good, and Sunni Shia respect this. In this book, there is a hadith that Rasulullah said, لو أذن الله تعالى في التجارة لأهل الجنة. If Allah gives permission to the people of heaven to trade, of course people of heaven don't need to trade, and there is no trade over there, there is no business there, but according to this hadith, if there was a kind of trade that people of heaven were permitted to do, means something which is very nice, very heavenly. Rasulullah, according to this hadith, of course, we need to know that no collection of hadiths can be taken as all authentic from cover to cover. We need to check the chain of narration for every hadith. But if this hadith is correct, and which seems okay, it says, لو أذن الله تعالى في التجارة لأهل الجنة لاتجروا في البز والعطرة. they would have done trade with selling clothes and etra, perfume. Bazzaz, in Iran we say, bazzaz, to people who sell clothes, parche. You can buy and then, tailor your own clothes. So it seems that trade by itself is a good thing. Islamic law, that trade is a good thing. Tejara is a good thing. Of course, farming, maybe it's better, but trade is also recommended. And then trading clothes that people, can use in order to cover themselves, in order to beautify themselves. Lots of barakah in clothes, to the extent that even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he talks about taqwa, he says taqwa is a libas, is a kind of clothes for you. Or when Allah talks about husband and wife, says hunna libasun lakum wa antum libasun lahunna. Or when Adam and Eve ate from that tree, one of the very first things that happened to them was badat lahuma sawatuhuma, and their private parts of body were visible, and they needed something to cover themselves. So dress is something which is very much combined with human life, and the culture of being naked, na'uzu billah, that is getting popular. It's totally against human fitra and human nature. So to sell and trade with selling clothes and perfume would be something that people of heaven, if they were going to do a trade, they would have loved to do. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam also is quoted as saying, this is in Al-Khisal by Sheikh Saduq rahmatullah alayhi, that one of the things that gives dhaw to face, arba'un yudhi'na al-wajh, illuminates and enlightens and brightens the face. One of them is an-nadharu ila al-khudra, looking at the green. Amirul Mu'mineen also said, an-nadharu ila al-khudra yusirru, makes people happy. You see, Islam brings physical and the spiritual and the mental all together. So we don't look at environment just from physical and worldly and economical perspective. We look at it from the way that can help us with also our mental health and with our spirituality. The places which are suitable for feeding animals are also very much important, and Islam has high regard for making and preservation of these places, and there are strict rules about these places, and in some cases they belong to the public and no one can have monopoly over them. In some cases, maybe if it's inside someone's land, yes, but if there is a general land, then no one can have monopoly on these public places. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is quoted as saying that Muslims are partners fil ma' wal nar wal kala, about water. So for example, there is a river belongs to everyone. There is a sea, ocean, belongs to everyone. And nar, if for example there is fire, a suitable fire, then people should be able to benefit from it and have access to it. Perhaps this can be used for also fuels, but we will talk about it. And also about kala, the place that is used for feeding sheep and goat, etc. And general, like grass areas. In particular, also we have this hadith that our Sunni brothers, so this that I mentioned was from Man La Yahduru al-Faqih, that is a Shia source, but also our Sunni brothers have similar hadith. ثلاث لا يمنعنا. There are three things that would not be denied, would not be other people would not be deprived. Al-ma'u wal-kala'u wal-nar. The same three things. The order is different. That was al-ma wal-nar wal-kala. Here is al-ma wal-kala wal-nar. Kala yani what we call marta in Arabic and Farsi, means a place for feeding animals. The next chapter is about wind and rain. Sometimes, there was a culture, maybe still some people today, they used to curse winds. Sometimes, people nowadays also, curse weather, curse, sun, when it is hot, curse winds, for example, why it is too windy. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to a hadith which is in Tafsir al-Ayyashi, one of our hadith-based tafsirs is tafsir which is compiled by Ayyashi. So in that hadith, in that tafsir, there is this hadith, La tasubbur rih. Don't swear at winds. So you have to be respectful, not only to human beings, even to something like wind, even to animals. Everything you should be respectful, and your language must be very polite. فَإِنَّهَا بُشْرٌ. These winds are creatures of Allah. They give bishara. Sometimes they bring bishara. Sometimes they give inzar. They give warning. If you are able to understand the reason for these winds, sometimes you can understand that rain is coming. Sometimes you can understand that, for example, a storm is coming. So there is bishara, there is inzar. وَإِنَّهَا لَوَاقِحٌ. They are very useful for fertilization because they carry the seeds of the plants, etc. فَاسْأَلُوا اللَّهَ مِنْ خَيْرَهَا وَتَعَوَّذُوا بِهِ مِنْ شَرِّهَا. Instead of swearing at them and cursing them, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring you good winds and protect you and give you refuge with respect to bad winds. This is good. About drought and having not enough rain, according to a hadith in Al-Kafi, Rasulullah said, إِذَا ظَهَرَ الزِّنَا مِن بَعْدِي كَثُرَ مَوْتُ الْفُجَأَةِ. When fornication after me, ظَهَرَ, either in the sense of it appears, or in the sense that it becomes qalib and dominant, because ظَهَرَ can mean also dominant. Like, for example, هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين. ليظهره doesn't here mean to make it just visible or appear. It means dominant. So ظهر zina, either it means when zina becomes something that is done publicly, it's appearing, because maybe in the even time of Rasulullah, there were people who were privately and secretly doing zina. Maybe these sins have never altogether stopped, but what is very bad is when people they're making it public, making it in movies, write about it on internet, on newspapers, etc. And when, na'udhu billah, this becomes also dominant. So zuhur in both meanings, to be visible and public and to be dominant. So Rasulullah said, إِذَا ظَهَرَ الزِّنَا مِن بَعْدِي كَثُرَ مَوْتُ الْفُجْعَةِ. The death of fuj'ah means unexpected death becomes abundant. So people will die sooner than their deadlines. Many different types of unexpected and quick death happen. People sometimes don't know what is the secret, why so many people, for example, die. One reason is because we as human beings commit sins. And it doesn't mean that the person who dies necessarily this person has committed zina. No. We are all being affected. If someone is bringing, a dirty, for example, or, polluting, for example, material, it can kill himself, it can kill neighbors or, family, friends. These sins that receive social punishment, it can affect other people as well. It's not just those who commit the sin. Although we will not be punished for that by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you can be a victim and you can be, rewarded and compensated. But there is a chance that we all suffer. And when there are pious people around, we all benefit. Our life becomes stronger and longer and more meaningful. Our risk can increase. Just if there are few very pious people around, our risk can also increase. Our life can become longer because we very much benefit or harm each other in dunya. In the heaven, no one can harm another person. But in dunya, we can harm each other, knowingly or unknowingly. وَإِذَا طُفِّفَتِ الْمِكْيَالِ أَخَذَهُمُ اللَّهُ بِالسَّنِينَ. And when people do tatfif, وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ, when people sell less than what they are paid for, then famine comes. It becomes more and more. وَالنَّقْص, and also shortage. So these are sins that we have to be especially careful about them. Another sin which can reduce rain and water is zulm, especially social injustice, especially zulm by governments and governors and rulers. In Irshad al-Ghulub by Daylami, there is a hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen, إِذَا جَارَ الْحَاكِمْ قَلَّ الْمَطَرِ. If Hakim, the ruler, does jawr, injustice, rain is less. Of course, everything being equal, don't compare a place which has already plenty of rain and a place which has shortage of rain, and just look at with one factor, say, oh, in that place there is a bad hakim and still it's raining. No, the same place, everything being equal, if hakim is just or unjust, it affects. But there are many other factors. Every place can have their good years and bad years. One of the things that can bring bad years is if they do zina, for example. If they sell, less than what they are paid for, they do tatfif. If they do jawr and satam and zulm, as we say in different languages. Imam Raza alayhi salam is also quoted as saying, إِذَا كَذَبَ الْوُلَاةُ حُبِسَ الْمَطَرِ. When wulat is plural form for wali, when those who are in charge, the guardians of affairs, the statesmen, the rulers, if they lie, rain will be stopped. So injustice of the governors and lying of governors affect them and other people. As I said, in social life, we very much, can be harming each other or benefiting each other. Imam Baqir alayhi salam said, "Inna Allah azza wa jalla idha amila qawmun bil ma'asi sarafa anhum ma kana qaddara lahum min al matar fi tilka as-sana." This in Al-Kafi. If people do some sins, commit some sins, Allah would take away from them and perhaps send it to other places the rain that qaddara lahum. He had measured and planned for them that this year this much rain should come for them. But they committed some sins, Allah will send it away from them. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam in another hadith again in Al-Kafi says, إِذَا فَشَى أَرْبَعَةً ظَهَرَتْ أَرْبَعَةً. If four things spread, four things appear. إِذَا فَشَى الزِّنَا ظَهَرَتِ الزَّلْزَلَةِ. If zina is spreading, earthquakes also become more. وَإِذَا فَشَى الْجَوْرُ فِي الْحُكْمِ احتبس القطر. If injustice in governance is spreading, rain would be stopped. وإذا خفرت الذمة أديل لأهل الشرك من أهل الإسلام. If people don't observe their promises and contracts and treaties, they betray, they break their promises, they betray their treaties, etc. Then Ahlul Shirk, Mushrikeen, will be given dawla, superiority over Muslims. The people who are not faithful, they are like pagans, like atheists, they will be dominant over Muslims. Sometimes, when we do something wrong, we don't know what we are going to do ourselves. We think, I don't keep my promise, we don't, respect our treaties. How can this have such big impact? But everything is connected. And from small things, big things can happen. This is why in Islam, al-wafa'u bil-wa'ad is so important. Al-wafa'u bil-ahad is so important. To keep your promise, to be loyal to your contracts. وَإِذَا مُنَعَتِ الزَّكَاةِ ظَهَرَتِ الْحَاجَةِ. And when people don't give zakat, haja, need, becomes more. It's very important to give zakat. There is a heading then here about benefits of rain, the water of the rain. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, according to a hadith that Tabarsi mentions in Makarim al-Akhlaq, there's a book, this is different from Dua Makarim, there's a book called Makarim al-Akhlaq. In that book there is this hadith from Rasulullah, أنه قال علمني جبرائيل دواء لا يحتاج معه إلى دواء. Jibreel taught me a medicine with which there is no other medicine needed. Means it's very useful. Don't take it as a sign that you don't need any university, any pharmacy. No, it means it's something that is very useful. If this hadith is authentic, it's very useful and it can prevent many problems. فقيل يا رسول الله ما ذلك الدواء. O Messenger of God, what's that medicine that Jibreel taught you? قال يؤخذ ماء المطر قبل أن ينزل إلى الأرض ثم يجعل في إناء نظيف ويقرأ عليه الحمد إلى آخرها 70 مرة وقل هو الله أحد والمعوذتين 70 مرة ثم يشرب منه قدحا بالغداة وقدحا بالعشي. Before rain reaches the land, if you can get some drops of this rain in a container, which is nadif, in a clean container. You know, in Mafati there is a special, instruction about Ma'un Nisan. There is a special season, and there are in our hadith, recommendations about that water. So in this hadith says, before this rain reaches the land, take it, put it into a clean container, and read Surah Hamd from beginning to the end 70 times, and Surah Qul Huwa Allah 70 times, Surah Qul A'udhu bi Rabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu bi Rabbin Nas, each of them 70 times, and then drink a cup of it in morning and a cup of it in the night. This is a medicine that is very helpful. So this shows that rain, when it comes from the clouds, is not just physically coming down, it's also coming from a place which is blessed and mubarak, and before is touching the land, still that barakah is there. Although even after touching the land, still it's very mubarak and blessed, but there is some spiritual effect that can help also with treatment of our body. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam also said, "Ishrabu ma as-sama fa innahu tahurun lil badan wa yadfa'u al-asqam." Amir al-Mu'minin said, drink from the water of a sky, means the rain. It is tahur. Tahur means making tahir. It's good for cleaning your body, but also yadfa'ul asqam, removes illnesses. So Rasulullah said, and Amir al-Mu'minin also said, قال الله عز وجل, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also said in the Quran, وَيُنزِلُ عَلَيْكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً لِيُطَهِّرَكُم بِهِ وَيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمْ رَجْسَ الشَّيْطَانِ. This rajsa shaitan, this dirt of shaitan, and also yutahhirakum. So certainly this is tahur. This is something that is cleaning, but also is not just cleaning the surface of the body. It's good also to clean body from some germs, from some illnesses. There is some, positive effect on that. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said that hayatu dawab bil bahri bil matar. Not only we people who live in land, we benefit from rain, even the animals that live in sea and ocean, they benefit from the rain. And the rain that comes down to seas and oceans is very useful for them, to the extent that Imam Sadiq says the life of the living beings in sea is dependent on matar. Brings lots of minerals, lots of oxygen, lots of barakah for them as well. فَإِذَا كُفَّ الْمَطَرِ ظَهَرَ الْفَسَادُ فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ. If rain stops, we have problem, they have problem. Barri wal bahr. Corruption will appear in both seas and lands. And it can be because of our mischief that then the rain doesn't come, and then we will all be affected. This hadith from Imam Sadiq is in Tafsir Qummi, Tafsir by Ali ibn Ibrahim al-Qummi. Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam in Sahif al-Sajjadiyya, dua number 19, has a dua for asking for rain. And Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli puts this dua here, which has this at the beginning: Allahumma asqina al-ghayth wanshur alayna rahmatak. Oh Allah, please give us water with coming of rain through the clouds. And it's a beautiful dua that Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli mentions with translation for 2 pages. And then after that, there's a discussion about the reward which is promised to the people who make rivers, make channels, and bring water to the farms, to the gardens, to the villages, to the cities, so that people can benefit. Of course, through legitimate ways, not that you take some other people's water and bring to your own country or city, but if through legitimate way you can bring from halal and permissible sources of water to the places that they can benefit from, this is very much rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is considered as one of sadaqat jariyah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions as one of sadaqat jariyah, rajulun, a person who does ajra nahran, who makes a river flow. Or in another hadith, sadaqatu ma'in yujrih. It's a charity if you make a water flow and people can benefit from that. Then we have a discussion about how to benefit from sea coasts and from the sea itself, which I think I leave it for the next week, because this is a short discussion followed by discussion about roads and transportation. So inshallah in the next week we can talk about these together, and we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us as human beings and as Muslims and believers in God to maintain and look after all the blessings that He has given us, starting with our own body, our own soul and mind, and going everywhere: air, soil, water, greeneries, animals, every blessing that we have received as human beings. We ask Allah to help us to be thankful and look after them and improve their conditions, inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.